So if you look at Picasso and the change elements in Picasso, I think if you look over time, I mean, he lived till age of 91, 90. Yeah, and he was 90. Yeah, so 91 years old. And kept on painting till the end of his life, and constantly trying to find new ways of doing it, inspired, as you said, by the environment. So how do you assure constant innovation? He mentioned also in writing that personal curiosity was an important element, to keep on being curious. Keep the boy or girl in you alive. We've mentioned that before. Let's say young children are very creative. Often educational systems limit those creativity elements. And in fact, that's why we often think, I think, that artists are free spirits, because they have not been able to be captured within clear borders, and that allows them to have a creativity which others sometimes artificially are restricted, either by the organization where they work, where stick to the rules, to the timeline, to the results, and we don't want all these experiments and potential risky things which might fail. Artists often are able, and he is certainly an example of that. If you see pictures of him also, there's been an exhibition of pictures of his life and in Berlin, and it was really interesting to see that sense of humor, curiosity comes out of the pictures if you see him work. It's
he also a little bit of his power, I think. If you look at when he was in Paris, the group of artists around him, he was also capable of. He once mentioned he was coming from Madrid, very young, and he lived in the surroundings of Barcelona, and he knew I could live without money and manage my life. And the funny thing is that you could understand that even in those situations you could get enough money to get by. And so he understood that he was in fact also liberated to make his art without the idea that you have to make money out of it at the beginning. So he had also, he would say, the space and the power to develop his art in such a way that he was not just directly focusing on the mass public or something. And at the same, I think it's not just the money, but it's a mindset, that you free yourself from this pressure that you have to do something in a short period. But in a really, I once said that, there I learned to be free. And it was at a young age that he learned to be free, that he was not depending on the world around him for everything, that he could really be almost autonomous. You know, I can manage.
Now, that's of course, again, not being dictated by the mass public. He has also often mentioned that in statements, is an interesting one, because that brings us back to what I've mentioned several times already, type of strategies you can have, namely outside in thinking, i.e. the public wants this, they'll get it, I have the competences of doing it, or the inside out approach, I have certain competences, I'm curious what I could do with it, circumstances around me change, I could do other things, and not immediately looking at, let's say, the consumer you would have for that. And that came quite quickly because of his reputation, but he never had that in mind when he was making art.
And the funny thing is, you can maybe relate it to Apple, that by Picasso, his public expected a new product, a new development. They expected from him experimentation at a certain moment. And so he was freed to stay with this one style, because the public now expect from him development. They expect something new, and every time he delivered that, he became more famous, in fact, because he had another style. And you have to compete it with other artists who was just one style, and they were lucky to have that. And so he became this figure who was the first pluralistic artist, in fact, who had all those different styles in one person. And I think if you look at some companies, they have this beautiful image that everybody expects the newest, the best, not the best even, but the newest product, some new image. And if you have that image, I think it's not always, but it is very interesting that the public expects that. So you can come with a new product, you can display it, and everybody follows it. So you didn't look at Picasso as the same artist with the same style, but you give him the credit to explore.